Alright then, here we are, and we're gonna go for the good ending now, which starts with us not following the voice. Here we go. No, you know what? I can't just believe you in only a couple of minutes. At least I've known, spelled incorrectly, that other guy for a little while longer, and his arguments seem to be more weighty. You'll be sorry. Those words sounded like they were coming from another world. The voice seemed to disappear. Of course, I couldn't be sure whether my choice is right or wrong. It was a blind guess, enforced by a time limit. Nevertheless, whether I'm right or not, we'll find out soon. In a couple of minutes, I was standing at the bus stop with all the other pioneers. Ah, everybody here? I still can't do Olga Dimitrievna's thing. Began Olga Dimitrievna. We're leaving our camp today, and I'd like to tell you something in parting. Sherwick. She was visibly nervous and desperately lost for words. All these people here, though. All of them, seriously. This is a beautiful screenshot. Okay. I hope that you'll remember the time we've spent here for a lifetime and that you'll retain only pleasant memories about Semyon. I also hope that you become at least a little bit better, managed to learn something, and found new friends. Just come back next year. The camp leader looked away. It's like she was trying to keep the tears inside. Ah, don't worry. No, that's a lie. I don't actually love you. I'm sorry. I didn't expect her to get so emotional. Although her speech sounded like complete nonsense to me, as usual. The pioneers started to crowd onto the bus, babbling cheerfully. I decided to hold on a little and say a proper goodbye to this camp. All of a sudden, I felt a deep urge to throw a coin. Of course, there's no fountain here, and I honestly didn't feel like returning, but it's still just a superstition, and I don't believe in them. At least, I never believed in them before. Digging through my pockets, I found only a couple of candy wrappers, a pencil, and a scrap of paper. I held them for a moment, then I squatted, put the paper on the ground, and scribbled a few words. You are here for a reason. Grinning at my stupidity, I threw the scrap under the wheels of the bus and got into the cabin. Oh, look, everybody, and that person actually looks very pleasant, as does that person. None of these people are people we know, except for maybe that one. That one looks like one of the guys. I found a place in the middle. But hold on. 1, 2, 3. But the strangest thing was that everyone sat in pairs, and only I was alone. However, what's the difference now? I'll either disappear, or we'll restart everything in a couple of hours. Oh, I hit scroll by accident. Scrolls to the dialogue. The bus was slowly moving towards the district center, occasionally bouncing over the bumps in the road. What the fuck with the cat ears? Ladies. Who the fuck are these people? Is it Miku? I don't know. It was impossible to see anything beyond the old windows in the pitch black dark of night. Anyway, I couldn't care less about the surrounding countryside. I just sat and waited for the inevitable. For the first time in a long while, my head was completely empty. The pioneers around me enjoyed the trip. Eliana and Alyssa were playing cards. Lena was reading a book and Slavia was sleeping. Miku was trying in vain to start a conversation with Zahana, and Zahana was trying really hard not to start killing people. Electronic and Shriek were crafting something, as always. I was the only one completely ignored by everyone. It might be a slightly far-fetched perception. I got used to the role of being the center of the universe in the camp. I thought that everything revolved around me. Well, that might be so up to a certain degree, but here and now I'm only a foreign object, an out-of-place molecule in the harmonic pattern of a crystal grid. I'm not sure how long we'd spent on the road, but sleep had already started to overcome me. I can feel myself needing to sneeze. Okay. I was desperately fighting Morpheus, trying to stay awake as long as I could. After all, it's quite possible that today is the last day of my life. And possibly it's reasonable to cling as hard as I could to these few hours of meaningless, useless existence. However, physical fatigue and, more importantly, emotional fatigue took its toll, and I fell asleep. Day ... A sharp pain throbbed through my entire body. I felt it especially sharply in my temples. It feels like they're ready to shatter into 1,000 little pieces, giving the wind free access to my empty head. Probably I would not have been able to stand even 5 minutes of such torture if I hadn't opened my eyes in time. I was somewhere. It was impossible to tell precisely where. My mind was clouded in mist. My thoughts were confused. The moment between the unconscious and conscious states when you vividly remember your dreams. I was going somewhere by bus. I was about to doze off when suddenly a girl came up to me and began to speak quickly. I couldn't understand a word, but the girl looked very upset. I failed to understand what she needed from me. Time passed, and she kept talking on and on. It was getting really annoying. I wanted to ask her to cut it out, or at least calm down a bit, but I failed. Either because I didn't manage to say anything, or because my words didn't reach her. I couldn't even see her face. I was simply listening and staring and listening. Perhaps it wasn't important for me then. Surely you would not try to remember what a mosquito disturbing your sleep looks like. Surely you wouldn't manage to recall the frequency of its flapping wings or the inclination of its proboscis. After that. And this girl is just one of millions of voices that disturb you from concentrating, from thinking, from falling asleep. The louder her voice grew, the harder it got for me to catch her words. The bus cabin, the seats worn by time, the uneven floor, the rusty ceiling. The cracked glass of the window screen, everything was floating away. Along with her. And then I felt a unique sense of relief. It didn't matter how real the bus and the girl had been. It was nothing but a bug to me. And here I am, hanging in total emptiness and falling inside a dream. Wow. Dreams can be really something. Not quite a nightmare, yet definitely not something pleasant. I got up, rubbed my face to get back to reality, gave a loud yawn, and prepared to clean myself up. It was a really gray morning. Unable to find my hygiene kit on the nightstand, I concluded that I could manage without it. It was hard to get dressed. My hands were trembling like hell. I looked at my reflection in the mirror and checked out my 2-week stubble. Well, perhaps Olga Dimitrievna has a razor. It was only when I went outside that I suddenly understood that I'm not in a pioneer camp. I'm back in my apartment. And I've just come out of my room into a passageway, not out of the cabin. I was overwhelmed with surprise, with dismay, with fear, even with terror. But how? I sat down on the bed and buried my face into my hands, trying to remember the chain of yesterday's events. Yeah, the bus. The last day of the term. Yeah, I fell asleep. And woke up back home. Well, to some degree, it might even seem quite logical. It seemed the initial astonishment has worn off during the first few seconds. After all, the fact that I came back like this after a week-long absence is no stranger than my sudden appearance at some pioneer camp of the 80s in the first place. The events of the last 2 days flashed before my eyes in an instant. That mysterious pioneer. His words. But how did I manage to get back to reality then? According to him, I was going to be stuck there forever, as there's no exit. On the other hand, I wasn't alone. That pioneer at the bus stop and the mysterious voice emphasized the contrary, that the exit exists. Does that mean I found it? I managed to get out of the endless loop? But how? Nevertheless, I wasn't sure whether I should rejoice or grieve. Over the last week, I'd kind of gotten used to that everlasting inner monologue, the search for answers and the in-depth analysis of everything. So I simply couldn't accept this fact as it was, without figuring out what exactly happened to me. Sure, he told me that I'm the only one who has observed the existence of other guys like me during their very first loop. But does that mean everything? Anything? Does that mean anything? I think not. Anyway, all his theories and ideas instantly collapsed like a house of cards. Now I had to decide how I should react. Of course I should rejoice. After all, I'm back in the real world. Maybe the last 7 days were just a dream. Indeed, there's absolutely no evidence that I really was there. I don't see my pioneer uniform anywhere. I look my age just like I did before. My phone is on the table, fully charged. But I can't deceive one's own memory. But one can't deceive one's own memory. One can't live through such terrifically real experiences in a dream. Actually, you would be surprised. You would be really surprised. I still remember the events of the whole week in great detail. Perhaps I was in a coma all this time. An ironic laugh escaped my lips. My lisp. An ironic laugh escaped my lisp. Okay. And I'm just going with it. No, that's not an option either. Then, all's well that ends well? No. The last few hours in the camp flashed through my mind. Indeed, I wasn't hoping to get out, either from that camp or from that reality, and I was pretty much ready to do another week. And another one. I'd accepted my role, I'd reconciled with my destiny. And what was I supposed to do after all the stuff had happened? I heaved a doomed sigh, got up from my bed with considerable effort, and, like any true nerd, went to my computer. That's weird, but according to it, only 14 hours have passed since my disappearance from this world. Not a whole week. A new message in the instant messenger. Hi, Semyon. Yesterday it was legendary. See you later. Smiley face. With several chins. Or something. I don't understand why that's a thing. My college friend. It was him who invited me to that party with the rest of his college friends that I was going to attend. Suddenly, all my senses came back to me. The headache, the dizziness, all the symptoms of a hangover. You are the reason for everything.